because SMS is a volume game. So the biggest issue is that if you're not able to send the volume of SMS that you're typically used to sending out to get the number of deals, then maybe you will still be able to send an SMS, but now you have to pick up the rest of the slack from other sources.
You're listening to Flip Empire, the show committed to helping real estate entrepreneurs who want to build their empire without sacrificing their life. Your success and freedom starts now with your host, Alex Pardo.
You work with a lot of successful investors. I'm curious what you're seeing now, 2021. What are you seeing is working? And then where do you see people kind of struggling and failing?
Yeah, I guess the question, there's always, do we want to get into, and I know we talked about this, we talked about you want to talk about some of the landmines that I see right now, that then there's a bit of an issue here coming up with SMS marketing, which a lot of people are doing. So just to give everybody a frame of reference. So I used to do a lot of direct mail. So that was my thing that I pioneered and I did a lot of over many years. Direct mail started to not do as well. The cost per lead started to increase. The cost per deal started to increase. And just because there was more and more people in the wholesaling market. So then I transitioned to digital marketing and specifically Facebook, because at the time nobody was doing Facebook. As always, every marketing channel changes, but we're still continuing to generate leads, and that's what I predominantly teach students: how to get on board with Facebook and how to go ahead and get started. A lot of my clients, a lot of the students that get involved with us, they come because they're already doing, outbound. They're doing cold calling. Maybe they're doing SMS, and either maybe they are having success or not. So sometimes if somebody is having success, they also want to implement maybe a marketing strategy that's inbound. So as opposed to, going out and spending time actually reaching out to people. And sometimes they just don't like the cold calling. The couple of things that we spoke about right before is kind of a lay of the land, is that one of the key issues coming up in terms of right now, and I think everybody who's doing SMS should be well aware of this, is that there's some changes happening with the carriers, right? So broad scope, what we'll cover we can also cover what's working with Facebook right now. Should I cover the SMS first and then the Facebook, or which one do you want me to cover first?
No, let's get into the SMS stuff, because for a long time that was one of our main marketing channels. But now it seems like everybody's doing it, and I know that there's some there's a trickle down effect, and it's causing some backlash here. So there's a lot of people listening to this that are likely doing SMS marketing, and they may or may not be aware of some of the changes and some of the challenges going on with that particular channel. So yeah, let's dive into that.
Yeah. So the main thing with SMS, as with any channel, because the same thing happened with direct mail, is that the more people do it, the crowded it more, the more crowded it gets. And then, unlike direct mail, where, the post office isn't going to complain that you're sending too much mail because they love it, because it keeps them in business. What's happening now is that the carriers are getting a lot of volume of these text messages, and some of the carriers like the AT&T now, when you get a text message and they don't think it's really an individual from your phone, then they'll put it in a different category. Samsung will put it as a spam. I think for iPhone they put it in a different category. But what's happening now is that the carriers are now going to really clamp down on that. So they're going to require, each carrier is going to require business registration. So depending on how you're doing it, typically most of you that are doing any sort of SMS where you're using a platform, then that platform more likely do the registration and help you with that. Hopefully, if that would be better for you. But every single carrier, AT&T, Verizon, and everybody's going to require your business registration. So you can't just be behind the shadows. Then they also want you to register the campaign. And then also, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who actually operates one of the platforms. I'm not going to say who it is, but who operates one of the platforms that you guys know that you sign up for to be able to send mass text messages. And one of the issues is the throttling. In other words, that you might go ahead and register your campaign, but they're just not going to let you send out, hundreds of thousands of texts a month, because of the fact that they want to see, hey, is what you're sending what people want? Is it unsolicited? And then if not, then they're going to clamp down on it. Okay. So one thing to keep, and so all this is to say that, I think for anybody here who has SMS as their primary strategy for them going out and getting deals, for right now, continue to do it, continue to fine tune it, continue to work with the issues around there and try to do whatever you can to work around it. But I think it makes sense for you to start looking at, hey, what else can I implement into the mix, so that way, if it just starts to, if I can't send, because SMS is a volume game. So the biggest issue is that if you're not able to send the volume of SMS that you're typically used to sending out to get the number of deals, then maybe you will still be able to send an SMS, but now you have to pick up the rest of the slack from other sources. So that's, I don't know if you had any comments about that specifically, but that's just something new that just, I heard over the last week.
Yeah. So is there anything in particular that you're aware of, Chico, that people that are currently doing SMS marketing, is there anything that they can do to protect themselves while still gain the benefits of mass SMS? Like, are there any best practices or strategies as far as, like, for example, dripping the amount of messages that go out over the course of the day or over the course of the week versus like sending them out in bulk? Or like, I'm just curious if there's anything that people can do to still gain the benefits of SMS marketing while protecting themselves.
Well, I mean, I think from what I read, that the registration is so it doesn't matter if you hire a VA. With these platforms, you hire a VA. Typically, you put all the numbers in the platform, and then you're not sending them. You're not allowed to just hit a button and just send a bunch of texts. You have to do them individually, by hand, and that kind of circumvents, the laws and the requirements. But the registration is going to be the case regardless if you're doing that or even if you have drip campaigns. So even your drip campaigns would have to be registered, right, in terms of that. So like it covers everything. I think that, in the SMS world, we're technically kind of going under the radar because you're not offering a service. So like a real estate agent would definitely have an issue with sending out mass SMS because of the fact that they're soliciting for a service. But we're kind of reaching out to people, asking them if they want to buy the house. However, the thing to also consider with SMS is that you always got to be careful, because nowadays, if you go on Google, you can find tons of attorneys that are basically looking for clients that got an unsolicited text so they can go ahead and file a lawsuit against you, and then you're going to settle and collect, and they're going to collect like $10,000 from you. So, right. So SMS is always like a cat and mouse game. So I think you have to be mindful of that it's like I was telling somebody the other day, it's like robbing banks. I don't rob banks, but if you rob banks for a living, you can't complain about always getting shot at by the cops. They're going to be like, it's just, if you rob banks, you always have to deal with that, right? So it's kind of like the thing you always have to deal with when it comes to SMS. But I just think that it's just going to make it a little bit more tougher. So that way, if you're playing the volume game, I don't think you're going to be able to play the volume game to the extent that you were playing before.
Right. And here's the big picture. If you are relying on one marketing channel, whether it's SMS marketing or anything else for that matter, your business is built on a house of cards, right? Chico, you and I, not too long ago, were having a conversation. We don't need to get into the specifics of that, but we know several people that, one particular channel is disrupted in some way, shape, or form, whether it's an online platform or whether it's something like what we're talking about now with SMS. And then you have to kind of scramble and you kind of have to figure things out. And I think you can put yourself in a very precarious position if you're only relying on one marketing channel. One last thing before you go, if you have been listening to the show for a while and or you have been getting value from the show, I would be 100% honored if you would share this show with a friend, or maybe share it with somebody that you think could benefit from this. It's my mission, it's my cause, it's my purpose through Flip Empire to impact and touch people's lives, to help people and in their businesses. So it would be an honor if you would be willing to share this episode. And one last thing, make sure that you're subscribed so that you get notified every Monday and Thursday when shows get released. I look forward to connecting with you on the next one. Until then, have a great day.